Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. We're going to do a reading on Hurricane Milton, but first I want to touch on Hurricane. If I say Helen, you'll be like, oh God, she's so English. So I don't know if it's Helene or Helen. I'm sure I'm going to get told in the comments. So couple of reasons is I feel different energies with these, to be honest with you. I feel like the people of North Carolina and that have faced Hurricane Helene have been silenced in some kind of way. And I presume there's been a lot of readers with conspiracy decks, investigation decks, saying quite a few things. It's actually the 9th here. When I'm recording this, it will be the 8th in the US in the evening. I'm not releasing it straight away because I feel like what I might want to state might be very insensitive to those people that are in fear. And when you're in fear, you're looking at all different things that you can listen to that might be able to help you. It might ruin the amount of views that I get on the videos, but you always know that I kind of don't work on the basis of creating drama, fear, and conspiracy. And one thing that I do find very strange is that a lot of people that speak of conspiracy or governments and fear and all that kind of stuff and don't get trapped into it and stuff are actually creating readings that are based on that kind of element, even when there's no kind of proof, or there isn't actually, when I channel something, there isn't actually something proving what is being stated, but they will do a reading on it because that's what people want to know. And sometimes I look at people's comments and stuff, not on psychic readers, but for example, trials, right? Or for example, recently, if you're from the UK, there's a lady called Victoria Taylor, and she's missing. And Peter Blexley has already come out with something which I disagree with. And so I just look at the comments all the time, and I must say some really rev me up and irritate me because I'm kind of like, how can you not see this? Like, it just reminds me how we are battling of different energies, different levels of consciousness. It doesn't matter who's higher or whatever, but you know, we go through it in life. Anyway, so I mentioned in my I think it was in the predictions that I think my predictions was done on the first couple of days, maybe the 4th of October, I can't quite remember. Now, something else that I want to say is when I've been thinking of doing this, when I thought of the 8th, like for you in the US, August came to mind instead of like the 8th of October. August was ringing through. And as I started this recording and I sat down, February was coming through for me. And just now when I'm looking at the word Helene, I've got September, but then I'm just looking, it was in September, wasn't it? So I looked on the map how, because I was confused on how I had a comment that, because I predicted a hurricane and events of water. And I was like, how come some people are saying North Carolina, Florida? And I didn't think they were positioned in the line of each other. So I guess it hit North Carolina, and then Florida. And so Florida going through Milton is very already sensitized to what they've just been through. So it's different between going through something where your streets are kind of clear, there's not been flooding, the drains have been clear, and actually going off the bat of something else. The destruction of something can be a lot bigger when you've not recovered. Two very different energies, okay? Something that I was getting is that North Carolina, there's, and I might be wrong, so you can let me know in the comments, I feel there was a lack of them being seen, a lack of speaking about this, a lack of compassion. I don't know if the current president did come up and he say anything. And if you can come up and speak about Israel, then you can definitely come out and speak about a state. And when I was getting that kind of thinking, it was like, got reminded. It was kind of like, Zain, remember you said events that happen are going to sway voters. And that's why I say check the description box, because I mentioned in the predictions, I was like, in the recent one, I said, remember I said about events that will twist the votes, etc. So yes, okay, monitor, but don't get A-wired on what you're seeing today. Even, let's not go into media not necessarily being transparent. Disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. Please use your own fact finding. And myself, I have to remember I'm not on Patreon when I get in the heat of the moment. So where was I going with this? Then you can definitely speak about state. And then I was kind of reminded. And so in the description box, I did put like one of the events that will sway voters or sway the election goes is the Hurricane Helene. Another one is this Iran kicking off with Israel. And can I just say something on that? How do I put this without people taking it the wrong way? People are very biased on what they want to communicate, even astrologists. So if the astrologist is, let's say, American, but has a Jewish or Israeli background, okay, so let me put it this way. I saw a 2-minute clip from an astrologist, okay, who's American, but I can tell from her name, she's probably Israeli Jewish background. Doesn't matter, lived or alive, parents, whatever, right? And she wanted to do the astrology of like Israel, Iran, and the Middle Eastern countries. And she was like, Netin has been through the right ringer. He's had such a difficult time, but he's going to keep going. He's going to pull through. And it was kind of like a sob story. And so I put a comment. I was like, let's get the tissues out for this guy who definitely looks like he's been through the ringer, who has no reason in mind, like can't reason with this person, who's just attacking left, right, and center, getting the backup, and out of the countries of like Palestine, Lebanon, and let's say Iran's involved now, you're saying he's going through such a tough time. What about the people? I was like, I wish people would remain unbiased from their backgrounds, etc. But I just like, how can someone say he's going through a hard time? There's people that are lost their lives, are displaced, are living in rubble. And I won't go into it because it makes me cry, feeling that pain of people. And she's sat there saying that. Anyway, so it's very difficult to just, what you listen to. So where was I going with this? She also said, this is because the Middle Eastern countries and whatever countries were named, like Palestine, Iran and other countries, are rejecting Westerns and the Western way of living. And that's totally not true. Okay, so, I mean, you can vouch for this if you've lived in these countries, if you've been from these countries, you have a cultural background of these countries, you know people from this background, from these countries, you'll know that they've actually married from different Western countries. It's absolutely not true. I mean, for example, Lebanon speak French. There's Christians in these countries. So, just be careful. What I'm trying to say is what you listen to. You can agree with somebody's astrology or somebody's messaging sometimes, and sometimes you don't have to. You can like someone's post sometimes, and sometimes you don't have to. It doesn't mean you have to unsubscribe or not. And I'm going to get into that message in another video of this, where I speak of channeling another message. And what I've just said very much ties in with what I want to channel through, which is whether it was Hurricane Kirk, hitting Europe, that I believe I had said, I think it's going to hit the ocean and sort of calm it down. It's going to absorb it before it hits further and then moves to the UK. Whether it's Milton, whether it's Helene, or whether it's a storm in your life of like a divorce, a loss, a a job loss, whatever it is, you know, health. So look out for that. Okay. So what I was getting is that the messaging was kind of like, there's two parties, and one party is like, well, you should have voted for us because, or you should vote for us because you won't be in such a mess. This is for Hurricane Helene. So I don't know, North Carolina, are they more dominated for a long time? I don't just mean this year, a very long time in one direction of one party. And that's what I that keeps coming back to me. So it doesn't matter if, for me, it doesn't matter if that state is blue, red, or 5% this, 99% that. This is about humanity, and it goes back to what I was mentioning. If you think your government is going to be your savior, you need to think again. Remember, I said we need to be together as people, and this is what the shift is doing, is making you realize that it's the people that you need. Unless you're a dog who got abandoned, which I will go into because that really frustrates me when I heard about this. Abandoned, tied to a tree or a lamp or something by the family who I presume went to evacuate, and they even tied the dog. The dog cannot get away in a hurricane, and thankfully it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what the person does, your destiny. There was a savior there for that dog. I think it was a policeman or someone. It's in my comments, that saved the dog. Like, I don't know how people can be not only so cruel, but so cruel. And how can you, I don't know, I think about it and it makes my heart break. Like, imagine seeing the dog. So I don't know about this Helene. Let's pull some cards. One more card. Page of Swords. Kind of wants to come out, kind of doesn't. Okay. And I'm told to take this card, Queen of Wands. This was the first card. Oh, look. So look, 10 of Wands, Page of Swords, and the Queen of Wands. I'm told to look at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting. It's turned over. 6 of Wands in reverse. Definitely. You've not recognized us as a party, okay? And so get your own help. Carry your own burdens. This is not a balanced approach of communications. And there's been a lack of communication, but there is a surveillance of what's been happening and the progress it's made. You know, there is someone, is there a mayor or governor also a feminine? There's a feminine party here, but there's kind of like, there's a standing up, like saying you've not, maybe indirectly, you have not voted for us. You didn't vote for us, point blank. Very immature energy, very on the defense energy, not for the people kind of energy. Deceitful strategy around Helene, okay? When people are facing burdens, it's deceitful strategy. A lot of it's like communication that could have been done online. This is where you need to realize there's no winners in this. It's not about being recognized as your party, okay? And again, this is a party that maybe could have started winning voters or was winning voters, but it's gone topsy-turvy now. So that's what I get with that. And the cards are reiterating, okay? The only balanced person in this, I feel, is this Queen of Wands energy. It's kind of like, I think this is the people standing up again and having an epiphany of what might not be right for them. And recognizing where they directed their energy of idealism has not gained them anything. I want to know, let's see what the cards say. Let's just make sure they're all upright. In terms of people that wanted to support, was support rejected? Interesting. We've got the support card directly. Two of Swords. What's this going to be? Seven of Pentacles. It's been very slow moving. And there's been challenges, a crossroads about the support. This could be around the monies. And the next question I was going to say is going to be, it was going to be around the money. Let's pull this card. There's a battle for this money. There's a battle for, there's a conflict of where the money's come from, even when it's innocent volunteers. And where the money is going, there's kind of like, there is support, but there's something strange here. It's kind of like they're holding on to what they've received. I've got another question. So I kept seeing thumbnails of that duck. DT was using some donations for himself, okay? My question was to, I don't think he is, but there is somebody using this money, okay? And it's also being kind of guarded in a certain way, but it's not going to the people. The money, the donations is not going to the people, but I do not get that it's going directly to Duck for selfish reasons. I don't know how this came up, but I was seeing it in thumbnails of political channels or whatever they are. Like, I didn't click on them. I don't know if they're media. I don't know what they are. So, okay. Just a lack of compassion. I don't know what is being said on the news. Some people are not going to agree with this next question. Whatever I get is, I keep seeing things about land grabbing, which I'm not really understanding. Do they mean that different states want to grab more land, or is it, what is it that people are trying to say? But I'm going to ask the question, because, or is it, I mean, that would be terrible if a different state wants to take up more land, because let's say maybe somewhere in that land there's a resource or something. But why would you do that with your state when you're a country? So what is... Yeah. There was some manipulation, man involvement in this hurricane. Okay. There was definitely. Okay. I knew this one would come out as a fourth card. So the reason is kind of hidden. Okay. Not in terms of land grabbing, but, you know, in terms of why man was involved. But there is an element to me of trying to steal something. So there could be something there. And it's secret. So even when you're thinking that you're hearing why, you still don't know why. So even if you, for example, hear somebody saying because of certain things, there is still a further secret on why man has been involved in this. No, it wasn't man's involvement was not because of like scientific testing or manipulation to, you know, kind of. So if you've seen my predictions like from last year in February, I mentioned, I think it's in February's, I mentioned we're going to get a lot more frequency moves, okay? And this could affect the planet and the energy. But so, for example, in old days and still currently, what would happen is this country decides to bomb this country and that one bombs back. What happens now is a bit more, and Spirit is bringing me laser as well, kind of like they can just, you can do like a frequency that can erode stuff. And the way I was getting it prior is also when they want to shut us down, they could do a frequency through to our ears. And I don't want to scare anyone, but what I'm saying, but it looks like there's a laser also frequency, kind of sound frequency, as opposed to just bombing. And Spirit is reminding me of that. But I also felt that I will get to the reasons also. Um, Not all man is not all man. That's why I asked the question. If there is Earth, okay, and I'll go into that a bit deeper in when we touch base on Milton. So. Um, so the manipulation in North Carolina was not to harm people. The intent was not to harm people. Okay. Don't forget. Okay. Don't forget, I mentioned these things. So a bit of man is also to cause distraction, sway things to a certain way. Okay. So that's one of the things that you need to understand as a big element in this. And obviously through it you harm people. I just want to say, if you, whatever it is in life you're facing, even if it's a hurricane, if you've lost your home, if you've lost, or your home just needs rebuilding again, and just, I don't mean just as in minimal, sorry, your home needs rebuilding, that's nothing in comparison to having your life. So try to see it that you're alive, and rebuilding from scratch is giving you an opportunity, and trust the universe will help deliver as long as you move in faith. Okay, don't be alive and then realize, well, what have I got left? This is ruined. Well, you've still got another chance at this world that we live in, whether it's something you enjoy or not, but the universe will help deliver for you as well. I feel like Florida is going to have more exposure. I feel like Florida is going to have more coverage. I feel like Florida is going to be, there's going to be more support delivered to Florida. So I'm not sure why I feel North Carolina is silenced. Silenced. Now, in my predictions, I did the October predictions first, and then I didn't release it. I feel the world is kind of heavy, and I'm kind of like swaying between stuff. It's like I've done an Oprah reading, which some of these readings help lighten up the energy or just distract us a little bit without getting into fear distraction. We watch something different, is what I mean, but not distracted where we get into fear and forget that we should be doing something for ourselves. No. So I mentioned in the, was it the channeling? Yeah, and the spirit was like, get this up straight away. I did not know Florida was going to have a hurricane, right? So I didn't know there was Milton on the way. I didn't know anything. I think I also predicted tornado. And I do know that I knew that one country in the Middle East, which turned out to be Iran, was going to close on their flights and their borders for probably that evening or the next evening because of the fear of an attack. So I predicted like a category 3 to 4. Okay, I wasn't sure what the highest is, or if there's decimal points. Now, I don't know if this is going to get tamed down. I strongly feel this is going to get tamed down. I think last I knew that it was still at a 5. I do think it's going to dissipate and get down. But I also feel like there's a bit of playing in the background, where with nature. So let me explain something, because people tend to think they know everything. With manipulation, weather manipulation, I believe in it, and I've said it in my psychic readings. Look out for it. It's going to happen more and more. And not only for the US, I believe the UK are doing it in some way. Some other countries are doing it in some way. There's a Middle Eastern country that, go back to February or something, put Dubai floods in your YouTube and see what on earth happened there. That was because they have sightings of like the possibility of rain or a cloud, and they start seeding. And what happens is the universe is obviously delivering, let's say here, the sign that there's going to be a tsunami or an energy moving in the sea or on land or wind or something. And then human go in to either test, to manipulate, maybe manipulate for other reasons. We never know, like maybe if a war breaks out and you see this in the weather, you can manipulate it to help, disperse that country attacking. There's ways it can be done in a very positive way. The problem is when you add something, nature controls everything. So as a human, you'll be thinking, let's add this size to it. This thinness, that thinness. And then you kind of like, well, it doesn't look like when we're measuring, it's going to be enough. So we'll add this size. And what happens is you can't predict everything in nature. There's then the overdose. The overdose is here causing an issue. But I feel like this was highly monitored. I feel like it's highly surveillance. So even I was getting like NASA. I know there's probably street cameras, etc., which are probably going to be blown away, but like webcams, surveillance from the skies or the satellites, just like weird stuff, which tells me this is not, this had some man input in it. And I don't think it was to harm people again. I know a lot of people are going to say that, they've seen maybe other readers, whatever, saying, yes, it was to harm people, it was to do stuff. I don't think it was to harm people. I think it was for the purposes I said. One was here is kind of like, there's political side. There's also the frequency testing that I believe is happening, and, kind of those trying to push in their kind of stuff. There could be stuff around the Department of Defense also. There could be something to do with a state having something that is worth something, but I don't know why another state would want it. I'm not really sure how that works, but it seems like there could be something there. And so at the same time, how can we make this bigger so that you're all distracted from the truths and the lies that happen? Remember, we're starting to awaken. So in the past, they could tell us, get to your homes by 10 o'clock, or the sirens in the evening, and you don't even know if someone's going to bomb or there's going to be an earthquake. You just go in because you believe it. Now we'll question, okay? So the way they need to do stuff is very different, and they start testing. But when you play with the universe, or if God says be, you cannot change that. You can make the universe louder, okay? In maybe you might be able to control it, but if the universe wants to come back and show you its power, boy, will it show you its power. So with hurricane, it's interesting. I was going to say Helene. Milton, again, I was mentioning water, floods. I think there might be some coastal damages. Not trying to be a clever psychic. I presume there's going to be power outages here, because of all the breakdown. I don't think it's going to be bad in terms of endings of lives, as what I think there is been said of Helene. I think we might hear of a few, but I do think there's people that's going to come back, and there's destruction to their places and stuff, and there's some areas that might be fine. And so it's kind of like, I also see like, the reason I also see this is because I see like, do you know how they say there's the eye of the storm? I feel like there was a split. There was a split in the eye of the storm, and one way of this, it could be that the direction, but also a split of the force. One was very like, the eye of the storm was, momentum was, let's say, 80% wind gathering with the water. But then split came, and some areas was more windy and some had the flood impact. I feel like there was a split in the eye of the storm that also, I believe, which I'm going to do in my second reading, I believe by 10/10, right, 10 of October, we're going to find that it's either gone to a very, like maybe one or two, or it's left the land areas. Like, it's kind of like you get up the next day and it's kind of like, I have woken up, I feel very fresh, I see the sun, but in front of me there's mass destruction after me going in hibernation. And I just see that. That's what I see. And I don't mean that Florida are going to be with mass destruction. I just mean, like, for example, you go in hibernation and you can't see what's happening outside, but then the next day you wake up, or you get up and it's daytime, so the sun's out, and you can see the damage that's been done to maybe certain areas, buildings, whatever. But there's something about that awaken time and seeing the sun and coming out of hibernation that should feel good for people. I feel it as feeling good. I'm not there, but that's how I feel the energy of it. And it's kind of like waiting to hear, but the amount of surveillance I feel is being done on this Milton and coverage is just really weird to me. And I don't know if there is, to be honest with you. Like, I need to check, but I just feel there is, even if it's not something you're seeing. There's a lot of hidden. Now, I did want to say one potential is that it diverts a little bit, moving further south towards the water, which is better because then it's moving out into the water. I think Florida gets thinner, so it's less land, and that would be good. I think I got a comment. I'm not sure that we're not sure about it. It looks like it might move or something like that. So, but that's what I feel about it. It's going to be like there's going to be a feeling of stuck and delay. Like, it was ramping up. All right, we're ready to go into hiding. And then suddenly it's kind of like, no, wait, it's not going to hit quite yet. There was a word that was coming to me, FEMU, right? I actually looked this up, and obviously on Google I got the bone. I was hoping Timu wouldn't come up. I got the bone femur. Okay, femur was coming up. Looks like this might be a double reading, because I dare say I've been going on for quite some time. And I was like, okay, let me put FEMU USA. And I did, and two organizations came up. There was a FEMU, and I believe, don't quote me wrong, was an organization for like IT or research. I was like, interesting, am I getting something here? And then the second one down, was FEMA. So FEMA, our aim is to research the customer-based competitors. It's and create an innovative, profitable product. It's a FEMA trade. And then we've got FEMA Gov, right? So I clicked on it, and it's basically disaster and recovery. And when I click on it straight away, it says FEMA is working with federal, state, and local partners to conduct damage assessments and evaluate recovery needs for Milton. Continue to listen to local authorities for directions and support. This is right now. So, and you can work with them to support whoever needs supporting. So I think that's what Spirit was trying to come through. What I want to do, I keep getting brought back to the amount of monitoring of this hurricane. So I don't think they've got the amount of support needed. So let's see. Too many cards. So we're going to take these through. So they will if there's got the teamwork and support. I don't know why it's the government, but I'm seeing this at Duck. It's kind of like, will Duck try to come in and help? Because that might also help him win over Florida. But I don't think that that's him necessarily think it is, but it's not. So he will be thinking of that, but it's not kind of like, I'm going to do this only for this reason. But there is a side eyeing here. Why has it come up with FEMA? Is because I think FEMA is wanting the donations via one political party. Like they're hoping to get teamwork from volunteers and donations, even the smallest, from a political party that will have their agenda to maybe win votes, not necessarily against, not an agenda to. So for example, you've got a war here, right? You've got an opportunity to win votes and you've got an opportunity to help people. You want to do both, right? You're not going to just be like, oh, I'm just going to help people, but if I've not got the votes, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to go. No, this is both hitting two birds with one stone. And so it makes sense to do it without thinking. This is coming up in the energy. I'm also getting that FEMA is probably rejecting some people's help. And that's because they don't have the time. This is a bit strange. They don't have the time to act in terms of understanding people's backgrounds that are coming in to help. So I don't know, do they send people to people's home to help them with the flooding, etc.? And so it's kind of like, could I be sending someone who's got, let's say, a criminal record or is a bit loopy and so is taking this opportunity? There's something there about that. I feel like they don't have the monies they need, but also they are rejecting some support, hoping for more monies as opposed to people, manpower. It's really interesting. I also kept getting like Disney, so I don't know, did Disney close or was Disney operating? Because that's a reading I was going to do separately last year on Disney, because I feel like there's some darkness around that. There is something else I wanted to say about FEMA. I had a download, and so let's just see if I can find it. what is it with them? I did write something around this because I was having a download. I had a download about it. That was the main thing, but I was having a download about FEMA. It's so annoying. Where the hell did I write that download? The other thing that I wanted to say, if you remember in August, I said about earthquakes, and I said in September and August, I said those rumbles will be earthly, but in September, maybe I said it as well, what you're going to see, whether it's weather of whatever they say the element is, the impact is going to be water. Water is going to be stirred. So even if you, let's say you see a tornado, it's going to be stirred from water. Water is going to be the main, let's say, anger element, you know, just so that you can grab what I'm trying to say. So here, what we've had is kind of like, it might be from an earthquake, it might be a splitting of, you know, under the sea, at some stage there's land, isn't there? There's a bed of the sea or something. And now I'm going to get some science buffs. At some seas, let's say, that land, okay, there's like a rupture, and that could create, it creates a crack for frequency and vibrations to move into, let's say there's a crack here, move that way more or that way, where there's no crack, it either hits and dissipates, but with a crack it'll go in, and so with the energy move this way or that way, and then it triggers stuff like this. So this is where I don't agree with it being a full manipulation of man. This is where there is the nature, and people are going to disagree with me, but that is the case, okay? But to the extent, the way, I think, you know, with North Carolina, I get that they tried to mitigate it, and for some reason I feel like a government did try to help in some way. This is beyond that. This is more like, there's so many elements to it. The elements I mentioned, you know, like frequency, I think the Department of Defense or something like that is involved, manipulation. And like I said, there could be good ways of manipulating. Do you know, if they don't manipulate some of the land or the earth kind of stuff in solar flares, we would be fried. If they don't kind of go in, do some geoengineering manipulation. But then there's the bad way of doing it, where you try to control it. And if you control in the direction, or you're thinking in the sea, let's try to amp up frequency, or let's try to amp up seeding of a certain thing, at the same time, that's when it can go wrong. And obviously, to find the right specified amount, etc., they need to keep trying. They don't need to, but you understand what I'm saying. But there's a shift in the ground of the sea, and then we see now, if you notice, there's a shift in temperature. It doesn't matter if you're northern or southern, and that shift in temperature can also create either a dissipation, or it can create a bit more of a build-up, because the sea absorbs the heat, absorbs the cold. But then, for example, if you're standing outside, you'll feel the weather a lot faster. The sea, as you walk into deeper, it tends to get cooler, doesn't it? So imagine when you're walking through the sea, it's warm, it gets warmer. You might have a cool spot, and then it gets warm, and then, so can you, that's the sea has more of a deep temperature fluctuation and absorption of lasting temperature as well, and change. And these things are causing the shifts. They are also universal cleansing, okay? But the manipulation can go wrong, as we see. Yeah, there was a bit of manipulation and trying to control the, wow. the bloody hell, was there a tornado? So the actual the eye, the center of the hurricane, and that's where it split. They were trying to control it, okay. And this is this trying to control the center of it. But here, what I'm seeing with the control is less about what they were trying to do about water, is more around the wind and the force of it. That's what they were trying to control. So I think it was from nearly towards the beginning. And I also feel that at one stage they found it was going to be absolutely astronomically devastating. And that's when they tried to manipulate or do a frequency to try and calm it. But I think that is maybe where it was delayed, okay, where they can kind of, if they also delay it, it will help stop the impact on the land. I'm presuming this came from an ocean or a sea, right? It was going out to the sea, I know, but like it wasn't going to hit North Carolina here. So, but I feel like it was the wind that they were trying to control. And this tells me absolutely there was a split of the eye. A split of the eye. But in both readings, was it to harm people? No. I'm going to take this back because I didn't finish my question. It wasn't to do with US elections as the main purpose of why they were doing it, okay? But, and it wasn't to do with science either. It wasn't to do with science. And like testing of science. And it wasn't to do with harming the people. So why was it? We're talking about Milton here. When I got the, was it to do with not science, what was my second question? Elections, I think I said. I was told to look at the bottom of the deck and it was Wheel of Fortune again. And the reason, and the devil's here. Okay, I've said the elections and the devil is here. The reason I say that is because I didn't take it because I just put the Wheel of Fortune in the deck. And I think I put it at the bottom. So I was kind of reluctant to take it again. Okay. And I've just forgot that question. Hang on a sec. It's a problem when you channel and you try to channel the message and channel what you want to say and the cards. So not to harm the people. Oh, that was a distraction. Okay, so not a distraction. So I'm going to ask where I got the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck again when I looked. Yeah, it's more so related to elections and the future of America. The main energy of it, though, was it was natural. It was going to happen. It was going to be done. But there was some involvement of officials in it at some stage. All right, kind of an official involved. Probably like an organization. But the main is the universe. The main here is the universe. I do think it's going to calm down. Okay. This is not because of my prediction, but I do think it's going to calm down. It's not going to be a 5 or a category 4 to 5, but it might feel that way because of off the bat of another one. Now I'm going to ask the question a bit different. Okay. We don't know, like, it's the 8th in the US. What is going to come out about this? Oh, it's so irritating. I had another question on FEMA and it feels so important because I channeled the message as well. Remember I mentioned through these things, okay, so I think this is what the universe wants to say. Yeah. It's your people. It's the people that are for you in these situations, not the governments. It's not what we wait on eagerly to be our saviors that is going to be the saviors. It's your community, it's your home, it's your nest, it's your neighbors, it's the people that can serve. When God gives us, I'm going into the channeling of the second part of the channeling I want to do with this. So let's just say it's not governments and politics that are for humanity, for you. And if you have a voice to vote who you think is going to be better for humans or your life, yes. I'm not going to sit here like a cosmic guru and say, you should not speak, you should be in the middle, you should not date, you should not be for one side or the other. Part of my channeling in the next part is this, but I'm also a believer that we're not there yet. So I dare say there's a lot of gurus that I would probably highly respect that might say, be the middle peace ground. That is easy in a world if we had at least 70% at that level. Or even 65, right? But not at this stage. I'll go into it later. The energy around the Milton and Florida is holding on to our homes, holding on to everything I have. Even if I'm sat at the end of the day with no roof, but I've held on to everything that I can. So this can be like the things inside of the home. It could be holding on to your space, whatever it is. That's the energy of the people. Now I've asked just if I'd be right about 1010. Show me the people. Yes, look, you come out of the holding on and you see everything around you. Okay. But there's something where some of you, your belief systems may change as you see more of this messaging. I keep going back to the amount of surveillance on this hurricane. Spirit is just keep saying it, and even though I've said it, it just keeps coming back to me. I feel like it's insane the amount of surveillance on this hurricane. I don't know. To me, that tells me that they've had hands in it. even though I fully believe a lot of it was universal and there was a reason, it's for like the reasons that I channeled. I believe there's been hands in it, but at the wind stage, right? And then there's been a splitting of the eye, or there will be. I don't know if it will be today or tomorrow, because for me 1010, it looks like suddenly coming out and feeling passionate again about everything in your life, when you've had to go into this fear of holding on to everything with dear life force. But then questioning, a lot of people will be questioning their beliefs, questioning their government votes. Again, a swaying of votes, right? How are people going to show up for us? That's something that I think some might be thinking of as they come out of this. A lot of it, I think people are going to look online to see what was said, because I dare say, you know, there's outages, you can't watch stuff. So a little bit of online watching. But can you remember how I said you step up, there's the sun, and it's kind of like you face stuff, but it's suddenly like there's that hope, there's a good feeling you're out of it, and you see the sun again, even though we're not talking about a raid of a war of, like, you know, where they sit 6 months a year in like dark basements or something. We're going to have to see what comes out of it. I do think there might be a couple or a few endings of people's lives, but I don't think it's going to be devastating numbers, and I could be wrong. And that's if it's going to calm itself down, like I see. The difference between Helene and Milton. Milton is a lot more people are going to have their homes to come back to. Okay. I feel there's going to be support, even emotional support. I feel like Helene, people have needed to be a lot more patient and been tested with their patience of being able to have to feel like I have to wait on help, or I have to wait. All I can do right now is just wait for someone to help with this situation. There is a hope here that there's a feeling of being invincible. There's people that have overgiven and need to be careful. And there's people that might have felt that they were invincible and they have come out on top, but there is something about being careful in terms of that. I feel like one political party may come out during this time period to show a bit of compassion, and I don't think that was shown in Helene. One of them had more rigidity of actually moving away and evacuating, and it might be because they didn't get the messaging. Yeah, look back for Helene, split the deck for Milton. Milton had a lot of anxiety and fear and build up. Okay. The energy is whatever's damaged can be built together. I don't know. North Carolina, Helene is very political. It's extremely political. It seems like I said from the beginning, what I channeled, if you're not with this party, you would have had the help and not been left alone. Six of Cups. It's something that's not going to be forgotten. Florida will have a long-term plan of rebuilding whatever's lost. I'm going to go into this a bit later, but I think also around their construction ideas. And there's going to be help offered, whereas North Carolina, it's only offered if one party offers to help. Otherwise, the other party's like, well, you don't vote for us. And Spirit is bringing me back to trying to remember what I channeled on FEMA. I've got no idea. I know that I said I think they will be rejecting people because they can't do background checks in time. They'd rather to have the money. Okay, so that doesn't help. So what else, FEMA? Yeah, they know it doesn't help. Do they have? They don't have even enough money nor the resources for a devastation to assist Milton. I feel in North Carolina, Helene, people had their own agendas. It was kind of like, I'll go help, but then I don't know if they turned up to help. As I say that, that sticks out to me. It's kind of like, no. Very interesting. I'm going to leave it here and I'll do the next one. Oh, hang on a sec. Let's just see what else I had. I do think we need to be careful of this being distraction. There's truth and lies. I do feel like where and when it ends is a massive clue for everyone. But it's going to be explosive because people are going to be like, no, you're doing this on purpose, as if it's, you know, kind of like it's to be evil towards humankind. And in a sense it is, because there is that element of distraction. There isn't a fairity. It wasn't the universe itself. And then who needs to come in to help? Very selective help as well. And I feel this for the UK. If you listen from England, like government might come up and decide to talk for, or say they were giving money to international warfares or countries overseas like Israel, whatever. Yet your own people at this point in time need help, whether it's pensioners or whether it's a flooding or hurricanes, you know, taking both countries. But people are going to be a bit explosive because they're going to want to be looking into why is this happening so soon off the bat. And it, you know, in some ways, rightly so, right? But yeah, there's mitigation by man here for purposes, but it's not fully from man, okay? And obviously you can disagree with me, that's up to you. It's like there's something else, but I feel like what else I'm going to say is going to be what I wanted to channel. I am going to leave it there, and hopefully we will hear of some news. I mean, I don't watch the news. I will try to on tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the 9th in the US when I look, so probably maybe around Thursday in the UK. So no, or Friday. Like I just think by yeah 10:10 their morning, so 10:10 evening GMT kind of time. Thursday. And then if there's power outages, and I dare say there's going to be people that's going to be like, what happened to the votes? I had this question in a member. It was like, what happened to the Florida votes? Have they been ruined? First, I didn't understand, what do you mean about the Florida votes because of the flooding? And then I realized they meant like, have they been ruined where they were kept? Or will it affect it? And some people will return home and be like, oh, now I can vote, thank Nora, or I haven't got internet, I can't vote, or I can't do this. Where was the votes? And this is showing you've got bigger fish to fry right now. Not that it's not important, but it's bringing you back into balance. There's reasons the universe has also stepped in for this. But there is something, because I said about frequencies a long time ago. And it's interesting that I brought out the Department of Defense, and I brought out that example of like war or invasion. And so taking opportunities to create these things. So I do think there's something around that. I know other people will probably say different stuff, like, for example, trying to be evil to the people, or government election in particularly. I do think there's distraction around that, and it will sway it. But I think we're talking a bit more than that. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do like, subscribe. And if you're from the UK, look out for Keir Starmer's reading that I've been promising to do. With everything being so heavy in the world, it's been kind of difficult. But in my first reading, I mentioned that something about Keir and another step above him, and I still have that. So it might not be by popular opinion, or maybe slowly it will start to come out and people will agree with me, or viewers may agree with me. But if you've not seen that reading, go back to it, and I'm going to do a top up on that reading. Not that I'll be watching what I said. Take care, and remember, you can like, support the channel, donate to the channel, buy me a coffee, join members and Patreons, which you can join for a month to support, get the perks, or you can simply give a super thanks. Subscribe to the channel, engage in the comments. Bye for now.